The night was quiet, but the silence of the jungle was never peaceful. It was the kind of silence that made every small sound feel louder than it really was. The wind moved slowly through the tall trees, making the leaves whisper to each other as if they were sharing dark secrets. Somewhere deep inside that endless forest, a girl named Alina stood alone. She was breathing heavily, her heart racing faster than it ever had before. Just a few hours ago, she had been laughing with her friends, walking along a narrow trail, believing the jungle was nothing more than a place of adventure. But now everything had changed. Now the jungle felt alive, watching her from every direction. Alina tried to remember how she had gotten so far away from everyone. At first it had seemed simple. She had stepped off the path for only a moment, chasing the sound of a bird she had never heard before. It had been beautiful and strange at the same time. She thought she could follow the sound and return in a few minutes. But the deeper she walked, the quieter the world behind her became. When she finally turned around, the trail was gone. All she could see were trees. Tall, endless trees stretching into darkness. She called out for her friends, her voice echoing through the jungle. But the forest only answered with silence. Not the normal kind of silence. This silence felt heavy, like the jungle was swallowing her voice before it could travel anywhere. At first she told herself not to panic. She had seen enough survival videos online to know that people sometimes got lost and still found their way back. She tried to stay calm. She walked slowly, marking trees with a small pocket knife she carried. She believed that if she kept moving in one direction, she would eventually find a road or a river. But the jungle had other plans. As the sun slowly disappeared behind the thick canopy of leaves, darkness came earlier than she expected. The jungle that had looked green and beautiful in the afternoon was now turning black and terrifying. Every shadow looked like something moving. Every broken branch sounded like footsteps behind her. Then she heard something. At first it was faint. A rustling sound far away between the trees. She froze, holding her breath. The sound stopped. For a moment she felt relief. Maybe it had just been the wind. But then it came again. This time it was closer. Her heart started pounding again. She slowly turned around, trying to see through the darkness. "Hello," she called nervously. "Is someone there?" No answer. But she felt something. The strange feeling that someone, or something, was watching her. She started walking faster, almost running. Branches scratched her arms and clothes as she pushed through thick bushes. She didn't know where she was going anymore. All she knew was that she wanted to get away from whatever was behind her. Suddenly she tripped over a thick root and fell hard onto the ground. Pain shot through her knee. For a moment she just lay there, breathing heavily, staring up at the dark sky through the leaves. Then she heard footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming from somewhere behind the trees. Her body froze. She tried to convince herself it was just an animal. Maybe a deer. Maybe a wild boar. But something about those steps felt wrong. They were too slow. Too careful. She slowly pushed herself up and looked around. The moonlight barely reached the forest floor. The trees looked like giant black figures standing in a circle around her. Then she saw it. For only a second. A shadow moving between the trees. It was tall. Too tall to be any normal animal. Her breath caught in her throat. She blinked quickly, hoping it had just been her imagination. But the shadow moved again. This time closer. Alina turned and ran. Branches snapped under her feet as she ran blindly through the darkness. Her lungs burned and her legs felt weak, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. Something deep inside her told her that if she stopped, she might never move again. After several minutes she reached a small clearing. The trees opened slightly, letting pale moonlight fall onto the ground. In the center of the clearing stood something strange. An old wooden hut. It looked abandoned, half covered with vines and moss. The roof was broken in places, and the wooden door hung slightly open. For a moment Alina felt hope. Maybe someone lived there. Maybe she could ask for help. But as she stepped closer, a strange smell filled the air. It was old and rotten, like something had been left there for many years. She hesitated. Then she heard the footsteps again behind her. Closer than before. Without thinking, she rushed to the hut and pushed the door open. Inside it was dark and dusty. Broken furniture lay scattered across the floor. Cobwebs covered the corners of the walls. It looked like no one had lived there for decades. She quickly closed the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. For a moment everything was quiet again. Then something tapped softly on the outside wall. Once. Twice. Then slowly, something dragged across the wooden surface. Alina covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming. Whatever was outside the hut had followed her.